Module 2, Cell Types and Cell Modification. Most essential learning competencies are classify different cell types, which includes plant and animal tissues, and specify the functions of each. Describe some cell modifications that lead to adaptation to carry out specialized functions. Learning objectives, you're going to describe tissues, identify and describe the types of plant and animal tissues, describe some cell modifications that lead to adaptation to carry out specialized functions, and understand the importance of structure and function of different cell types in living organisms. Let us recall the levels of organization of living organisms. From this, we will examine and describe how similar cells associate together to form tissues.
If you were to take a close-up look at your body with a microscope, you'd see that it's made up of millions and millions of cells. Cells are the basic building blocks of the human body. A group of similar cells that works together forms tissue. There are several different types of tissues in the body, such as nerve tissue and muscle tissue, to name just a couple. Tissues working together to perform a job form an organ. You decide. What's this organ? This organ is the stomach. The stomach is made up of muscle tissue and other types of tissue. Its job is to help digest food. You're probably familiar with other important organs, such as the heart, lungs, liver, and kidneys. Organs carry out many vital, complex jobs in the body. An organ system is made up of two or more organs which work together to perform a major function. For example, the brain, nerve cord, and nerves located throughout the body make up the nervous system. The nervous system receives information and then reacts to it. The nervous system also controls all the major functions in the body.
Okay, class. Life processes of the human body are maintained at several levels of structural organization. These include the chemical, cellular, tissue, organ system, and the organism level. Higher levels of organization are built from lower levels. Therefore, molecules combine to form cells. Cells combine to form tissues. Tissues combine to form organs. Organs combine to form organ systems. And organ systems combine to form organisms. Cell modification is also referred to differentiation or specialization. It is actually a process that occurs after cell division where the newly formed cells are structurally modified so that they can perform their function efficiently and effectively. There are two cell modifications. We have unicellular, the prokaryotes, such as amoeba. All the cellular activities are carried out by single cell. And we have multicellular, the eukaryotic cells. They perform different functions. What modification can be found in the cell? Microvilli are cell surface modifications, which increase surface area of a cell without significantly increasing the size of the cell. It is often seen in organs where the epithelium plays a primary role in the absorption of molecules. Tissue. Tissue is a group of many similar cells, though sometimes composed of a few related types that work together to carry out one or several functions in organisms such as plants and animals. These cells communicate and adhere to one another by direct cell-to-cell contacts and through intermediary molecules. Each organ of the body is formed by several types of tissue. The part of science dealing with plant and animal tissues is known as histology. The anatomy and organization of tissues are essential to understand the normal physiology and pathology of the organs. It is mostly descriptive discipline that uses light and electron microscopy to describe tissue morphology. Plants. They are multicellular eukaryotes with tissue systems made of various cell types that carry out specific functions. Each plant tissue is specialized for a unique purpose and can be combined with other tissues to create organs such as leaves, flowers, stems, and roots. Plant tissues are broadly classified into two categories based on their capacity of cell division. We have meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. When we say meristem, it is a type of tissue system in plants composed of a mass of undifferentiated cells, and their primary function is to take part in the growth of plants. Permanent tissues, on the other hand, are differentiated tissues carrying out dedicated functions, some of which is to render mechanical strength to the plant or even to carry out photosynthesis. These tissues are originated, differentiated, and derived from meristematic tissues. Based from the given diagram, there are three types of meristematic tissues. We have the apical meristem, which is located at the tips, the lateral meristem, which is located at the sides, and intercalary meristem, which is located in the middle. When we say apical meristem, based on the given illustration, these are present at the tips of the roots and shoots and helps in the increase of the height of the plant. Various cell divisions facilitate the growth of the cells in the roots and shoots and help in cellular enlargement. Apical meristems are divided into two. We have the promeristem zone, which contains actively divided cells, and the meristematic zone, which contains the protoderm, procambium, and ground meristem. Intercalary meristem. It is located in the leaves and internodes at the intercalary position. This helps to increase the length of the internode. It is found in grass, monocots, and pines. It is a part of apical meristem and adds to the height of the plant. When we say lateral meristem, it is located in the stems and roots on the lateral side. It increases the thickness of the plant. Vascular cambium and core cambium are the two lateral meristems. These divide clinically or radially and give rise to the secondary permanent tissues. The tissues that are completely grown and have lost the ability of division are known as permanent tissues. And there are two types of permanent tissues. We have the simple permanent tissue and the complex permanent tissue. When we say simple permanent tissue, these are known as homogeneous tissues. They are made up of single cell type, usually with the same origin, structure, and function. The simple permanent tissue is further classified into three types. We have the parenchyma, parenchyma, and sclerenchyma. When we say parenchyma, the cells have an oval or round shape based on the given illustration. The cell wall is made up of hemicellulose or cellulose. The cell is thin-walled. The cells have vacuoles and very small nucleus, and it is found in all parts of the plant. The protoplasm is the living and dead, while parenchyma, their cells are long and thick-walled. The cell wall is made up of cellulose and pectin. It is the only tissue with the highest refractive index due to the presence of pectin. It is found in the epidermis and the vascular bundle of ligature. The amount of chloroplast is less in the cells, and the cells have no intercellular spaces. Sclerenchyma. These are dead tissues, very hard and rigid in texture. Cells are thick-walled with various sizes and shape. This provides mechanical support and rigidity to the plant. Next, complex permanent tissue. The complex tissues are made up of various types of cells carrying out distinct functions and are two types. We have the xylem and the phloem. When we say xylem, it transports water and nutrients from the roots to the leaves of the plant. Based on the given pictures, it provides support to the plants, as well as it divided into tracheids, vessels, xylem fiber, and xylem parenchyma. Next is we have phloem. Phloem, it translocates. Next is phloem. It translocates the prepared organic food from the leaves to different parts of the plant. It is also known as bast. A bast fiber is a plant fiber collected from the phloem or the bast surrounding the stem of a certain dicotyledonous plants. It supports the conductive cells of the phloem and provides strength to the stem. And it is composed of seed tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fibers. The animal cells are grouped together to form animal tissues. These tissues vary in their structure, function, and origin. The animal tissues are divided into epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous tissues. Let us have a glimpse of each type of animal tissues in detail. We have here a diagram of animal tissues, and there are 4 different types of tissues. We have epithelial, muscular, connective, and nervous or neural tissue. We have epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissues form the protective covering and inner lining of the body and organs. They develop from the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm of the embryo. So what are some of the important characteristics of epithelial tissues? Based on the given pictures, this can be single-layered or multi-layered. The tissues have we have epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissues form the protective covering and inner lining of the body and organs. They develop from the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm of the embryo. So what are some of the important characteristics of epithelial tissues? Based on the given pictures, this can be single-layered or multi-layered. The tissues have the power to regenerate. These are held together by gap junctions, tight junctions, zonally adherent desmosomes, or interdigitations. The plasma membrane of these cells is specialized into flagella, cilia, and microvilli. So what are some of the classifications of epithelial tissues? We have sensory epithelium, which is used to perceive stimuli, glandular epithelium, which secretes chemicals, pigmented epithelium, which imparts color and retina, and absorptive epithelium, used for absorption. Now we have different types of epithelium. We have the simple squamous epithelium. It is found in air sacs of the lungs, in the lining of the heart, blood vessels, and lymphatic vessels. It allows materials to pass through by diffusions, infiltrations, and secretes lubricating substances. Next, we have simple cuboidal epithelium. It is located in ducts and secretory portions of small glands and in kidney tubules. It secretes and absorbs. Simple columnar epithelium. It is found ciliated tissues including the bronchi, uterine tubes, and uterus. The smooth, non-ciliated tissues are in digestive tract bladder. It absorbs and also secretes mucus and enzymes. Next, we have the pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. It is located in ciliated tissue lines the trachea and much of the upper respiratory tract. It secretes mucus, ciliated tissue, and moves mucus as well. Then we have the stratified squamous epithelium. It is lined the esophagus, mouth, and vagina, and it protects against irritation. And the stratified cuboidal epithelium, it is found in sweat glands, salivary glands, and mammary glands, which is used to protective of tissue. And then we have the stratified columnar epithelium. It is located in the male urethra and the ducts of some glands, and it is used to secrete and protect. Muscular tissue. The muscular tissue develops from the mesoderm of the embryo. It is classified into three types. We have the cardiac muscle, the smooth muscle, and the skeletal muscle. The muscular tissue performs the following functions. It helps in movement and locomotion. It supports the bones and other structures, and it is responsible for peristalsis and parturition. Then next we have the locations where the cardiac, skeletal, and smooth muscles found. The cardiac muscle cells are located in the walls of the heart, appears striated, and are under involuntary control. Smooth muscle fibers are located in walls of the hollow visceral organs, except the heart. It appears spindle-shaped and are also under involuntary control, while skeletal muscle fibers, it occurs in muscles which are attached to the skeleton. They are striated in appearance and are under voluntary control. Next is connective tissue. Connective tissue develop from the mesodermal cells of the embryo. They support and bind other tissues in the body. These are made up of three components. Intercellular matrix, which is made up of mucopolysaccharide, cells, which includes fibroblasts, adipocytes, plasma cells, and mast cells, fibers, which includes the types of fibers, collagen fiber, elastic fiber, and reticular fiber. And what are some of the functions of these connective tissues? They attach organs and tissues together. They store fat in the form of adipose tissues. They help in repairing tissues, and they prevent the organs from mechanical shocks. And the organs also help in defense. And we have other connective tissues included. So we have the dense and loose connective tissue, wherein cells is in fibroblasts. Reticular connective tissue, the cell is reticular cells. Then we have the cartilage, the cell is chondrocytes. And we have the bone. The cells are osteoblasts, osteocytes, and osteoblasts. And we have the blood. The cells are erythrocytes, leukocytes, and platelets. And we have the adipose tissue. The cells are white and brown adipocytes. And we have the embryonic connective tissue, mesenchyme or mesenchymal cells in reticular fibers. Then next we have nervous tissue. Nervous tissue makes up the peripheral and the central nervous system. It develops from the ectoderm of the embryo. It possesses the ability to initiate and transmit the nerve impulse. Its main components include the neurons, neuroglia, and neurosecretory cells. When we say neurons, these are the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It comprises an axon, cell body, and dendrites. It is the basic working unit of the brain. It is a specialized cell designed to transmit information to other nerve cells, muscle, and gland cells. Then next we have the neuroglia. These are special cells found in the brain and spinal cord. They provide support to the neurons and fibers. Then next we have the neurosecretory cells. These function as endocrine organs. They release chemicals from the axons directly into the blood. The importance of tissues. Formation of tissues has brought about a division of labor in multicellular organisms. Tissues become organized to form organs and organs into organ systems. As a result of improved organization and higher efficiency, multicellular organisms have higher survival. And also it involves the medicinal use of plants to treat disease and enhance general health as well as well-being. Thus, tissues form organs which combine to allow organisms to exist.
When you think of the term specialized cell, what do you think of? Well, when I was younger, I used to imagine this super cell that was really important and did all of these special tasks. I don't know, like some kind of special agent cell. Yeah, I kind of had that wrong. A specialized cell is a cell that has a structure that suits its function. Many cells have really different functions, and so their structure can vary greatly. When you see a lot of pictures of plant cells and animal cells, you might start to think that this is how they all look. All the animal cells and all the plant cells, they might start to kind of look the same in diagrams. Well, plant cells and animal cells definitely have structures that are unique to them. We have that covered in our Intro to Cells video. But because cells have different functions, depending on their cell type and the activated genes that they have, cells are going to have different structures too. They're going to be specialized. Now, the process for cell differentiation, which really explains how cells become specialized, it's a topic for another one of our videos. This video is going to focus on examples of specialized cells so that you can discover how different they really are and why that's so important. We can't go through every plant and animal cell, obviously, but we can give you some great examples. Let's start with plant cells. Plant cells can have all kinds of specialization, depending on their function. I mean, you can just look at a cross-section of a leaf and see all kinds of specialization. At the top here, also often at the bottom of the cross-section too, you can have a waxy cuticle layer, a protective layer that covers plant epidermal cells. Plant epidermal cells, among their many functions, are important in forming a boundary from the outside. They help keep plants from losing precious water. And epidermal cells can be up here on the top of the leaf, that's the upper epidermis, and they can also be down here on the bottom, their lower epidermis. And depending on the type of plant and where it might be living, the layer could be just one cell thick or several cells thick. Especially if the plant lives somewhere where it's going to have to protect against environment extremes. Many plant epidermal cells do not even contain chloroplasts because for a lot of plants, that's not a main function for epidermal cells. Guard cells are specialized epidermal cells that have an important job of controlling the opening and closing of stomata, which are pores in the leaf. They tend to be at the bottom of the leaf, but as always, there are some exceptions. See, you want stomata to be open to let the exchange of gases through, but you don't want them to be open if you don't have enough water in the plant, because water can get out. There's a balance. We have a video on that. Here are more specialized epidermal cells, trichomes. Now for plants, these can be plant hair cells, and maybe not like what you were thinking. These epidermal cells can be hair-shaped, and they have all kinds of different functions. Some of them are protective and can secrete toxic substances to protect against insects that might want to eat them. Some act like light reflectors to help protect plants that live in really hot areas that get a lot of direct sunlight. Now, a side note on trichomes. My favorite plant of all time is the sundew. It's a carnivorous plant that actually used to grow like crazy when I was a kid until it got a little too crazy, but I digress. Anyway, this plant actually has trichome cells that produce enzymes that digest insects because it's a carnivorous plant. Yep. So in this leaf cross-section, look at this layer. This is the mesophyll. Here are the palisade mesophyll cells. These cells are really important for capturing light, so they're specialized for this task. Guess what they have a lot of? Chloroplast. Lots of chloroplast, making glucose from the sun, food for the plant. Underneath it, take a look at these spongy mesophyll cells. These cells that make up this area are pretty loosely packed. They have irregular shapes. They can have chloroplasts, but in many plants, they may not have as many chloroplasts as the palisade mesophyll cells because in many plants, the spongy mesophyll cells don't do as much photosynthesis as the palisade mesophyll cells do. Their irregular shape, combined with loose organization, gives space for gas exchange, which you need for photosynthesis. This vein here contains the xylem and the phloem. We talk about these vessels in another clip, but the cells that make up these vessels are specialized for transporting water in the xylem or products from photosynthesis in the phloem. Okay, so we just saw a few examples of specialized plant cells. Let's take a look at specialized animal cells. How about the animal cells in your human body? Let's take red blood cells, RBCs, erythrocytes, so many names. They contain hemoglobin in their cytoplasm, which is a protein that helps them carry oxygen. They have a disc shape, which maximizes surface area for carrying oxygen. And they're also fairly flexible, which is helpful when squeezing through small capillaries. Here's a fun fact. When they are mature, they actually don't have a nucleus, or a lot of other organelles. Again, it's all about maximizing that space for carrying oxygen. By just the name, you might hear white blood cells and think that they are very similar to red blood cells, just a different color. But in reality, they are extremely different in structure and function. There are many different kinds of white blood cells. Some of them are classified as granulocytes, which means a special part of their structure is that they have these granules in their cytoplasm, which when released can aid in destroying pathogens. Many white blood cell types can have an irregular shape, with a structure that allows them to engulf foreign particles. How about muscle cells? Many muscle cells can have more mitochondria than many other body cell types because of their need for ATP energy. Now, depending on how their overlapping filaments are arranged, they can be considered striated, which basically means a striped appearance, or not striated. Their shape differs too. Smooth muscle has a shape that kind of tapers at each end, often described as a spindle shape. Skeletal muscle cells are long and cylinder-shaped and often bundled. They can have a lot of nuclei too, which is definitely interesting. If you're curious about why, it has to do with the fact that these cells develop from myoblast, which have fused together, so to the Google to find out more. Now, cardiac muscle cells have many similarities to skeletal muscle, but because they have such an important function with the beating of the heart, they have to be in sync. They have what are called intercalated discs, and those join them and help carry the signal to maintain the heartbeat. Cardiac muscle cells are often branched, and they too can have more than one nucleus. Well, with our limited time, we want to mention one more specialized animal cell, neurons. Oh boy, where do we begin? Neurons are the cells that can sense a stimulus and transmit signals. Common places to find them include your brain or your spinal cord. These things can be over 1 meter long in humans. 1 meter. Microscopic still, but wow, just look at this beautiful cell. Its structure is specialized for signal conduction. In the neuron, structures called dendrites receive impulses, and axons transmit the impulse either to another neuron or to a cell that it's targeting, like one of the muscle cells we just mentioned. By the way, this transmitting of the signal, which can occur in an event called the action potential, it's going to have to be in another video. The action potential is just a beautiful, amazing process, and these cells are specialized for it. Okay, that's a lot of specialized plant and animal cells. And that's just a few selected examples. One thing to keep in mind is that these specialized cells, they can make up specialized tissues in both plants and animals, and they function together.
This is your activity sheet number 1, group activity. You're going to complete the table of the different types of tissues. First column, you're going to illustrate the structure of types of tissues. And then second column, you're going to name the following tissues. And the third column, you're going to write either it is plant or animal tissues. And then the fourth column, you're going to describe the following tissues. Activity sheet 1.2, guide questions. What is the importance of tissues for living organisms? Why are plants and animals made up of different tissues? And why is it beneficial for organisms to have different types of tissues? Activity sheet number 2 for individual activity, we're going to make a comic strips about plants and animal tissues that will portray the following topic of your outputs. Use a short coupon band, fold it in half crosswise, maximum of at least 4 pages. Choose one topic from the following and then be creative. 1. Why are plants and animal tissues different? 2. How do plant and animal tissue perform their roles? 3. What functions do animal tissue and plant tissue share? This is your comic strip output. Includes the cover title, the content, the images, artwork of your related topic, the description of the content of your final output, and these are the samples of comic strips. And this is your